I'm going to be talking about the post office scandal. The facts are available for anyone who wants to do a bit of research on the internet, so I'm not going to be going into that in detail. I'm going to be talking about the way they're trying to pin everything on Ed Davey, who deserves to have stuff pinned on him, by the way, but he isn't the only sinner in this regard. I'm Grannyopteryx. So here we have the headline. Ed Davey faces growing calls to quit over role in post office scandal. In the event that you don't know about this, and if you're watching this from outside the United Kingdom, then you probably don't, I'll just go over some bare bones. What happened was that the post office installed a new computer system which had been invented, compiled, touted by Fujitsu, the Japanese company. And it turned out that the whole software was completely corrupted. And by the way, it could be interfered with. It was so badly written. And a lot of sub-post offices were affected, but they were forced to take this program. And then it started throwing up figures which made it look like the postmasters were stealing money from the post office. Originally, it was about 300 that I knew about, and then it's now gone to about 800, something like that. And some of them were sent to prison. Most of them lost their businesses. Some of them lost their homes. Marriages broke up. It was just incalculable what happened. And the financial repercussions are not only for the people now, but for the country. Terrible, because compensation has to be paid. And Fujitsu and the government and all the departments that were supposed to deal with this were all complicit. This is a conspiracy theory that actually shows how conspiracies really do happen. Now, this is the way the story developed. 1999, Horizon computer software was introduced into the post office network and used for tasks such as transactions, accounting and stock taking. In 2000, Alan Bates, the sub-postmaster at Craigydon in North Wales, reports problems with the system to the post office. His contract was later terminated after he refused to comply with post office policy. 2005, Noel Thomas from Gairwen, Anglesey, is told he owes the post office £50,000 and is among the first postmasters to be convicted of false accounting. A series of similar convictions for other sub-postmasters follow. Now, you would have thought that somebody in the government might have thought, look, suddenly there's a whole lot of postmasters stealing money from the post office. Maybe there's something wrong, but no. In 2009, the Justice for Sub-Postmasters Alliance is formed by Mr. Bates and others in September, but convictions continue. The Post Office 2013, the Post Office admits there were defects within the Horizon software, but says the system has been fixed and it's fine now. The following year, a report finds the technology was not fit for purpose in some branches. But the Post Office says there's absolutely no evidence of any systemic issues with the computer system. That's the Post Office. Next, I'm interrupting to remind you to click like and to subscribe and share. Also, I'm constantly being told that YouTube removes subscriptions, so please click the notification bell and check that you really are subscribed. All the links to my other channels are in the description, including links to donation sites. I'm always grateful, of course, for donations, but simply clicking like is the best thing you can do for this video and my channel generally. Thank you. December 2019, At the end of a long-running series of civil cases, the Post Office agrees to settle with 555 claimants and pays £57.75 million in damages. The following year, 6 sub-postmasters' convictions are quashed. In 2021, the convictions of 39 sub-postmasters are quashed, making it the largest case of wrongful conviction in British history. The Post Office said it sincerely apologises. And, 2024, Sir Ed Davey, the Liberal Democrat leader, was reported, it turns out he was warned 12 years ago that legal action against the Post Office over the accounting scandal could leave the taxpayers exposed to astronomical costs. So 12 years ago, from 2024, they knew about this almost as soon as it happened. Look, that was 2012. In 2013, they admitted they knew what was going on. And in 2024, Rishi Sunak says basically that he's going to try and make sure that all sub-postmasters have their names cleared. Whether they're going to get any financial compensation for the wreckage of their lives is, yes, still up for grabs. Now, I just want to talk, there's one sample case here. This woman is called Seema Misra, and she was pregnant when, in 2010, she was sent to jail for stealing money from the Post Office. It says here, evidence from the system was still used by the Post Office to secure convictions against postmasters like Seema Misra. She was pregnant when she was sentenced to 15 months in prison in 2010 for stealing £74,000. At her trial, the Post Office argued computer errors could not be responsible for the missing money. But Panorama, this was a programme made, quite a while ago, has seen internal Post Office emails which show its legal department was told about Horizon's errors shortly before her trial. One email from the Post Office security team to the criminal law team is about a bug in the Horizon computer system that makes money simply disappear. The security team tell the legal team they're worried the bug may have repercussions on any future prosecutions. An attachment to the email says any branch encountering the problem will have corrupted accounts. The document was printed out by the Post Office legal department 3 days before Seema Misra's trial, but it was never disclosed to the defence. It was never disclosed. They knew there was a problem, and this was in 2010. So this has been going on. Yeah, I mean, we've known about this. As a matter of fact, I was about to say, before I started making this video, that I had already made a very angry video about this in 2022, February to be precise. And when I look back at my videos, I discovered that I had a whole lot of research and a whole lot of documents, and I'd never made the video. And why? Well, I can only assume I was making that. My document is, my folder is dated February 19th, 2022. Well, we all know what happened on February the 22nd on 2022, so I was obviously dealing with other matters then. Right. Ed Davey, who was the Post Office minister from May 2010 to February 2012, faced intense criticism since it emerged that he turned down a request to meet campaigning sub-postmaster Alan Bates in 2010. And then, now, he says, the Lib Dem leader has insisted he did raise concerns but was repeatedly misled by senior bosses at the Post Office. Allies say he's been made a scapegoat and pointed out Labour and Tory ministers were also in post during the long-running scandal. And it's true, he is being made a scapegoat. I have no respect for Ed Davey. He was the minister. He was where the buck stopped, and he didn't do anything about it. So we all know that. And what I'm going to do is simply tell you, I have some notes here, simply point something out to you. Ed Davey was a Liberal Democrat. Now, as a Liberal Democrat, he had a certain mindset, which is, I would say, very similar to a socialist mindset, if not actually a socialist mindset. It just had a slightly different way of achieving these socialist goals. And that's really what I'm interested in here. You can get lots of information on the terrible scandal, which involves, as I said, Fujitsu, the Japanese company that knew there was a problem and didn't say anything about it. The various British government departments who knew there was a problem and didn't say anything about it. Even defense or prosecution lawyers who had information that there was something wrong and didn't disclose that to the defense. And people's lives, there were, for those of you who don't know, there were suicides, there were bankruptcies, there were ripped apart families. There were, for instance, I mean, this must have happened. A husband whose wife is a sub-postmaster asking, what did she do with all that money? And being assured by everybody that there's no way the computer program could be wrong. So his wife is obviously a thief, but, £70,000, where did all that money go, darling? That's a great way to start a marriage on the rocks, isn't it? I mean, all of this sort of thing will have been happening to hundreds of people. At first, when I didn't make my first video, it was 300 they knew about. Now it's more like 800. Anyway, so here we have a typical example of government departments and various people in authority covering their arses. And it reminded, it's the credulous Ed Davey, knowing there was a problem from a sub-postmaster who lost his contract because he said there was something wrong. He didn't follow that up. He says he did. He raised concerns but was fobbed off. No, that isn't an answer. But then there were others who were fobbed off as well. And it struck me that the socialist mentality is a mentality of people who trust authority. That's why they're socialists, because they think that authority can solve the world's problems. That is probably what's going on here. And Ed Davey, being a socialist of sorts, thought that, the government can't be wrong. Fujitsu, which is another authority figure, can't be wrong. And this is where it gets you. I mean, children have that attitude, and I suppose that's why students have that attitude as well. Look, I was like that myself. I don't think I'm anything special. Students have the idea that everything can be solved by authority. And but I was put in mind of a character from literature. I don't know how many of you know much about the works of Alexander Solzhenitsyn, but he wrote, they're described as two novellas. One of them, Matryoshka, sorry, forgotten the name. That's just something like 40 or 50 pages long, which is nothing more than a long short story. The other novel, which is compiled in the same book, is called An Incident at a railway station, and it has two characters. I've got them written down here because I'd forgotten their names, Zotov and Tveritinov. And Tveritinov is a soldier who's lost his unit. He didn't get on the train when the train pulled out the station, and now he's been sort of train hopping, trying to make contact with his unit again, and he's totally lost and very hungry, and he turns to the station manager Zotov for his for some help to get back to his unit. Of course, at that time, this was during the war, 41 I think it was set, the station manager, Zotov, is concerned. Well, the whole of Russia is concerned about spies. And this guy turns up, says he's a soldier, doesn't have any papers because everything was on the train that he missed. He can't find his unit. He's been train hopping, and Zotov is worried that he might be a spy. He's even more worried that if he helped this guy, he would be accused of helping a spy. So what he does is he turns Tveritinov over to the authorities. And he's not sure, the fate of this poor fellow bothers him because he's not sure whether he was a spy or not. And a few weeks later, Zotov contacts the authorities who arrested him and says what happened to him, and they said, don't worry, we dealt with him, we never make mistakes. And Zotov, you can tell he's got this slightly sort of rumbling feeling that maybe he shouldn't have turned this guy over to those people, but he suppresses it all. It all gets covered in the duvet of his trust in the government, in authority. That, and you know, when Solzhenitsyn is a brilliant story. Solzhenitsyn writes this: Zotov is not a bad character. He's not a bad person. He wants to do the right thing, but he trusts authority too much. And that's what Ed Davey reminds me of in many ways. He's that sort of mindset. He just trusts the authority figures. Right, that's that's all I have to say on the post office scandal. Till next time.
Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.